The Santa Monica Pier, one of the most recognizable landmarks in all of Southern California. It has played host from everything from concerts to paddleboard racing, and today it adds yet another event to its storied history, the Arnold Pro Strongman USA. Thanks for joining us, everybody, here today in beautiful Santa Monica, California. I'm Sean Woodland with Dr. Bill Crawford. We certainly could not have picked a more perfect day for this event, and we definitely could not have picked a more appropriate location.
A very historic place to have a competition for strongman. This is where Arnold got his start at Muscle Beach. In 1977, Arnold's book, The Education of a Bodybuilder, sent a shockwave through a lot of people's lives and got a lot of barbells and a lot of hands.
This is the final qualifying event for the Arnold Strongman Classic that will take place in March. So far, 7 men have qualified. 3 more spots are up for grabs, and today's event will determine who takes those 3 spots. There is a 3-way tie on top of the qualifying point standings between Jerry Pritchett and Maciej Belshak, and that man, Maciej Kieliszkowski.
This is a competition to see who has the most consistent day, and none of the athletes want to just do their best. They want to win today. These are professional athletes, and they all came here to win. They've told me that.
Kieliszkowski was certainly impressive in that stone to shoulder last year in Columbus, Ohio. He's looking to get back and improve on that performance. Maciej Belshak did not have the best performance last year at the Arnold. He finished 10th, looking to improve on that this year.
Yes, but he has an automatic qualifier as a winner in the series. If you had a win in the series, so that's what he's looking for today.
Yeah, so Belshak looking to build some momentum as he heads to Columbus. And finally, Jerry Pritchett, who's looking to get back to Columbus for the 7th time to compete in the Arnold Strongman Classic.
And we'd love to have him go and try the 500-kilogram deadlift record, which everyone's talking about. This is a focus of the next phase of the strongman, which is the big crystal, the big crown jewel in Columbus.
And earlier today, Pritchett spoke with Dr. Bill Crawford.
A couple of questions for you. So what do you think are the keys for your success today?
I just have to be consistent in all the events. With the proper athletes like this, you can't afford to have a bad event. So it's got to be efficient at every one and make sure up on points on everyone to be at the top of the overall.
Okay, I guess another question that everyone's got is what kind of deadlift you're looking at today? Because anybody that knows Jerry Pritchett and strongman thinks about deadlift. I know you also hold the IPL world record in powerlifting as well as the strongman world record.
Yeah, it really just kind of depends on how it goes today. You know, where we end up, we're starting at 700, taking every attempt. So I think that'll probably hold the numbers down a little bit. But, you know, the main goal is Columbus and going after a big one there. So I don't want to leave too much out here.
Thank you, Jerry.
You heard Pritchett say the main goal is Columbus, and that's what it is all about here today in Santa Monica. There are 5 events, some of them similar to what these men will be seeing when they get to Columbus in the Arnold Strongman Classic. We are going to start big. Event 1, a fire truck pull. More on that in just a second. But the log press, the deadlift, and the rogue sandbag carry will be similar to events that they will see in Columbus, as will the Atlas stone to shoulder. But that fire truck pull right out of the gates, that is a heavy, heavy implement they will be facing.
The larger athletes tend to do a little bit better with these truck pulls and plane pulls, but also it's about getting your hips low and keeping everything in line, also keeping the momentum of the implement going as well.
The order in which they will attack that 1952 Mack fire engine. Jerry Pritchett will lead things off, followed by Maciej Belshak, 2 of the men who are tied atop the qualifying point standings. And then Maciej Kieliszkowski will go 8th. He is the 3rd man in that 3-way tie. But this is just all about brute strength. But we mentioned it earlier, the surface on which they're pulling this engine could come into play here.
Absolutely. Some of the athletes are concerned about this wooden surface, which is something they've typically not done a truck pull or a plane pull on. The other piece is that the implement itself, you never know how something's going to move on a surface. So it's a very heavy object. They've got to stay low and use their levers and also their body weight. Larger athletes tend to do a little better with these types of pulling events.
Jerry Pritchett up first, finished 6th at the Arnold Strongman Classic last year, looking to get back to Columbus for the 7th time in his career. His best finish at that event was in 2017 when he finish in third place.
Well, as a really large athlete, 6'4" and 360 pounds, but also with that prodigious deadlift strength, that shows that his overall total body strength is absolutely astronomical. So this should be a good event for him.
Each athlete will try to pull that fire engine 30 feet as quickly as they possibly can.
You want to get your feet moving. You want to keep your back as perpendicular to the surface of the pier as possible. And you want to use those long levers, your legs, to really push against the surface and to get some momentum created. Then once it starts, you don't want to let up. And then there's a component of endurance. That strength endurance is very, very important towards the end of this event.
Jerry Pritchett, one of three men in a tie in the points standings as far as who gets into the Arnold Strongman Classic. He is tied with Maciej Belszak, Mateusz Kieliszkowski. All have 25 points. Two of them are guaranteed spots at the Arnold Strongman Classic. As long as one of them wins this event, all three will go. The men who could throw a wrench into this whole thing are Jits Kramer out of the Netherlands, Mateusz Ostaszewski from Poland, and Brian Clark. If one of those three win today's event, Kieliszkowski, Belszak, or Pritchett will get left out. We'll deal more with that as this event goes on and as the point standings unfold. And that is the line where they need to pull.
And a couple of these athletes I've not seen compete before.
Their feet need to get across that line.
A couple of the athletes from the Netherlands, Kramer and... Okay, first tire. So the first tire has to cross that line. So a couple of these athletes, Kramer and Clark, are newcomers to this series. And so they could be factors here. In other words, we don't really know what they're going to do. I've talked with them. They're well prepared and they're ready to go. But honestly, they might have an event or two that really throws the kilter on some of the plans of the guys trying to qualify for the Arnold Strongman Classic.
Yeah, for guys like Brian Clark, Ostaszewski, and Jits Kramer, they have to win to get into the Arnold Classic in March. We are at the Santa Monica Pier. This is the main arena that has been set up for the competition. The fire engine pull is being held just behind, or really in front of it, so the east side of the pier, where Jerry Pritchett is getting set to pull that 17,000-pound 1952 Mack fire engine.
You really want to get as strong a start as possible, so he's going to put his hips and his legs into this as much as possible, but also pulling as hard as possible on that rope to get some momentum going.
Pritchett has had a long career in strongman training.
They're adding weight, so 17,000 pounds plus a number of men that are climbing up onto the truck.
Yeah, at that point, what's a couple hundred more pounds once you pass 17,000? But Pritchett has been training in strongman ever since he was 15 years old, and his first event that he ever competed in was in 2008. It was in Phoenix, Arizona. He finished second in that event, and that's really what launched his career and drove him to train harder. And now here he is trying to get into the Arnold Strongman Classic for the 7th time in his career.
He told me he started powerlifting when he was 15 and deadlifted 460 pounds. So he got a good start. We saw him right before he started this event. He was warming up his heels, really trying to make sure that he's got some good flexibility going in the heels and Achilles tendons.
Come on, Jerry, let's go! Go, Jerry!
And Pritchett is underway.
He's taking the strain. He's pulling, he's pulling, he's pulling. He's just got to get it started. He's got to get it going. So here we are. We're down to, look at his feet are slipping a little bit. That surface, the shoes that he's wearing. He's really digging in. He's trying to get something going. It seems there's a technical issue.
So Pritchett, for nearly half a minute, was giving it all he had, and now he will have to reset and go at it again as the judges are discussing something here. So Pritchett gets a break, And this was the start.
It looks like he's slipping. As I had said before, I don't know if it's just his shoe selection for this event. A lot of times they'll wear the climbing shoes, but I'm not sure what climbing shoes will do for you on wood. The stone climbing shoes or the rock climbing shoes are typically quite good for this event, but I'm not sure why his feet would have slipped like that. Was there a technical issue with the truck itself?
The Pritchett's on the left. Brian Clark, who often trains with Pritchett's on the right. The two of them discussing some strategy. As Clark is one of the men who could really throw a big wrench into this thing.
Okay, so we have to turn the engine on to let the air brakes off. So that's the technical piece that we're getting. And so I assume that they're going to let him take another second. Now you could look at it two ways. He expended some energy to try to get that pull started. That's one thing. And the second possibility is that, it actually let him warm up a little bit. So we've got all the fans there standing by, watching the event. And sometimes these technical issues, people understand it. They're very patient. They just want to have the athletes have the best possible chance to pull this fire engine. We really want to see this, and I'm sure we're going to get a chance to.
It's hard enough to pull 17,000 pounds. It's even more difficult when the emergency brake is on.
Absolutely. But the other piece is this is why order is so important. If you're the first athlete to go, these kind of technical issues get worked out on you. But in strongman, you'll have a rotating order.
It's a packed house here.
Absolutely.
A lot of these fans started showing up early, and it's standing room only here at the Santa Monica Pier.
So they give the athlete that wins the first event, they let him go last in the second event, and what that does is it lets the athlete create a little more space between the other athletes. And here's our second event, the log press, 385 pounds, 175 kilograms. They have to clean and press each and every time.
And that is one of the events that will be similar to what the qualifying men will face at the Arnold Strongman Classic. They will have to lift the Austrian Oak, which is much heavier, 454 pounds, in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes, and that's the Austrian Oak is a legendary implement, no question about it. But with multiple attempts at the 385, that's going to be a good test to see if they can take on the Austrian Oak.
As they ready the fire engine, here's one more look at the men who have already qualified for the Arnold Strongman Classic, the top 7. Pritchett, Belshak, and Kilishkovsky are tied in the point standings. Those points are based on how you finish in the Arnold Pro Strongman World Series events. If you win one of those events, you automatically get in.
Okay, looks like they're pulling it up. We have some Santa Monica firemen here, so hopefully they're expert in controlling this beast. I've pulled fire trucks and fire engines before, and the first thing you have to do is just get it started. And sometimes it feels impossible, but you dig down deeper and deeper, and you get a little momentum, and a little more momentum, and you keep it going. And that's absolutely going to be true for this large fire engine as well. They didn't take any of the guys off. Sean, I think they're going to keep it as heavy as it was.
At this point, why not? And maybe if Pritchett slips these guys a few bucks, they can step on the gas a little bit and help them down the pier here.
I think the other athletes might have something to say about that.
No shenanigans here in the opening event.
Okay. Yes, they're sweeping off some of the wood shards and a little bit of pulp that's come off of the wood. And again, that's exactly the reason that the athletes were concerned about the surface. One of the things is this wood, the fog comes in, it's on the ocean, and on a daily basis, this wood goes through a lot of stress, and so that it becomes a little bit fragile. But we're trying to clean it up a little bit and keep it going. I know anytime you can add to an implement, with some of the men on the truck, that can be helpful. So they're just pulling it, make sure that it's okay. They're testing it.
Pritchett should be recovered by now. They strapped him into that thing, and the poor guy wasted about 30 seconds of effort when the brakes weren't released. This is the first of 5 events that we will be seeing today. After this, it is the log press. We just showed you that earlier. Then the last man standing deadlift, a little bit of a different format than we're used to. Every man will make an attempt at every weight. Once you fail, you are out. Then it's sort of made to simulate a stone a little bit. It's an odd object. They're carrying it up and down the arena floor here for distance. And then finally, it's a 400-pound Atlas stone to shoulder.
Okay, so we're going to the next athlete. Maybe to give Jerry a chance to recover a little bit.
That's Matjaj Belshak, who's now strapped into the fire engine.
Interesting, the first two athletes that are going to be.
The fire truck pull. It's Matjaj Belshak out of Slovenia trying to pull a 9-ton truck, John.
So Belshak has begun 30 feet for time, and he's got that thing moving.
Here he goes. Took him a couple of seconds to get some momentum going. There he goes. He's low. His back is perpendicular to the surface. He's got good foot movement. He's pulling. Got to get that first tire over the line. There we go.
How did that feel, big man? Great.
The Belshak is done in a hurry. We'll have to wait to get the official time, but he is first, so that will be the early mark to beat with 8 competitors to go. 19.57 seconds.
They don't have a lot of oxygen for an interview. You got to give
for
them
Belshak.
At least
he's got to be very happy with that result.
Put the microphone in his mouth. He's Slovenian, but it's Belshak who sets the standard.
And Belshak, one of the 3 men tied atop the point standings. Looking to get back to the Arnold Strongman Classic for the second time in his career. And he got that thing moving quickly and was able to accelerate the entire way down that 30-foot trek.
If you notice, technically, he's got a little difference with his pull. He had his left hand as an overhand puller, as opposed to having the underhand approach.
Belshak returns with his fellow competitors. Ronald Heinle, Martin Vices is there, Jerry Pritchett, all discussing some strategy. So Belshak sets the early time to beat at 19.57 seconds. And that'll bring up Jean-Francois Caron, who has already qualified for the 2019 Arnold Classic. He is the 2018 Arnold Classic Africa champion.
These guys, the governor might be pulling the truck here, but we just saw Belshak next.
So that gives us an easy mark to look at, just under 20 seconds. So that as the time runs out and they get closer to the line, 20 seconds is really the kind of the cutoff.
He won the Arnold Sports Classic. He won the Pro World Series.
But I think what we were talking about early on in the event, the 2 concerns would be the weight of the implement and also to the surface itself. And the athletes were concerned about exactly the right things. These are professionals and they understand what they're up against.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger is here alongside Mario Lopez. A lot of celebrity sightings at the Santa Monica Pier today.
For Matjaj Belshak out of Slovenia, J.F. Caron, Canadian, he is a powerhouse, John. He's a monster. Now, if you look, we've got...
I think Arnold's ready to strap that on and go for it himself.
I'm sure he would love to, as Jean-Francois Caron is the winner of Canada's Strongest Man for 8 straight years. 2011 through 2018, he has won that competition.
Very, very experienced competitor. He's pulled heavy implements before. I did speak with him about that. But the surface, again, I haven't seen his footwear. That sounds like that might have a part of what some of the athletes are really concerned about right now, is what they're actually going to have on their feet.
Corona's ready to go, and he is given the go command.
There he goes, those massive arms and shoulders, along with his hips, getting the pull as well as the drive with his legs.
19.57 seconds is the early mark to beating Caron. Looking like he might be able to chase that down.
He's moving his feet very quickly. Oh, just over 20 seconds.
We'll wait to get his official time, but it was close as Belshak, the first competitor to go, 19.57 seconds, and Caron was close to that. And again, Jean-Francois Caron has already qualified, but he will beat Belshak's time, so he is now your leader, 19.40 seconds.
Wow, what a close competition. This is exactly what we want to see. We want to see every athlete's best, and we want to see a great competition, and here we are. Just with that tenth of a second separating the two athletes.
So here it is, Caron, you knew the time to beat was Belshak with 19.57 seconds. JF Caron just did it. 19.44.
19.4 is now the new mark to beat, set by JF Caron. That is Brian Clark looking on. Brian Clark has got to win this competition to get to the Arnold Classic in March. He's a former recon Marine with the 2nd Battalion in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I know that's close to where you reside, Dr. Bill.
Yeah, it's very close to where I live now. And he said that he got involved with strongman and placed second in his first competition. So he's a natural. Means he's a natural strongman.
You're stuck in the water. The start is everything. If you can get the truck going.
19.44, 19.44 seconds is the time to beat for Brian Clark, as he is now the 3rd competitor up. He's out of Phoenix, Arizona, 31 years old, often trains with Jerry Pritchett.
And this guy's been training with Jerry Pritchett. Pritchett's a legend in the strongman community, been doing it for 20 years.
So hopefully the strength endurance training that he's done as a Marine will help him with these types of events.
Brian Clark is ready, and we will wait for the judge's signal.
He's mentally visualizing getting down. He's mentally visualizing having his back as flat to the surface of the pier as possible. And getting his hips into the pole to start with. Mentally visualizing. There we go.
Brian Clark is off. 19.44 seconds, the mark he's trying to chase down. Arnold Schwarzenegger there to cheer him on. I mean, if you're not motivated by that, I don't know what's going to get you across the finish line. And here comes Brian Clark, and he is in.
Wow.
I got to say, Governor, what was it like cheering him on watching the American pole?
22.81.
Right now, that would be 3rd for Brian Clark.
That was a great effort. That just shows that Arnold's really involved with these competitions. This series means a lot to him.
And if you've been following him on Instagram, you've seen that he has been posting pictures all weekend long with the athletes. I've been shooting some videos with them at Gold's Gym in Venice Beach. As Ronald Heinle, another man who has already qualified for the Arnold Classic in March. He won the 2018 Arnold Classic Australia event. Still trying to chase down the top mark that was set by Jean-Francois Caron, 19.44 seconds. As the man from Estonia getting ready to go.
Yes, I've spoken with him before, and so there's not a lot of strongman opportunity in Slovenia. So this is a terrific opportunity for him.
Now next up, ladies and gentlemen, in the truck pull, our 4th competitor out of Estonia, Heinle.
So Heinle from Estonia.
And it looks like he's struggling.
Traditionally, not a lot of opportunity in strongman there.
And he's looking, he's nice and low, so he's really giving it the power.
Off to a solid start. But it looks like he's behind the pace set by Jean-Francois Caron. 19.44 seconds is your time to beat.
Notice how there's slack in the rope, and that kind of tells how fast he's going, because if he's not able to pull it fast enough, there'll be some slack in the rope.
He was accelerating the whole way, as we discussed before.
The Heinle in at 21 0.22 seconds, and that means Jean-Francois Caron still your leader as we are through 4 of our 9 competitors.
He did get a good start, but sometimes hand speed actually plays a role with these truck pulls. Really reaching out with his hands and pulling back. But the rope had some slack and some give side to side as well.
Maciej Ostaszewski is up next. Another guy who needs to win this competition in order to get himself to the Arnold Classic. He was there last year, finished 10th. His best event finish, he was tied for 6th in a Paulins wheel, so this man does have some power.
Arnold giving him personal encouragement.
You got it. You're on a roll. Keep going. Keep going. Don't give up. Keep up. Keep going. Pump. Pump. Yes.
Ostaszewski is approaching the finish line, now starting to pick up some momentum.
Faster and faster. You're running. Yeah, now you're talking. Yeah.
There we go.
And he is in.
Good time. Good time.
And a handshake from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's taking my title away. Good cardio.
Arnold, can you believe this young man is only 20 years old? Only 20 years old.
20.38 seconds for Mateusz Ostaszewski.
Ostaszewski, your time, 20.38.
So he now is in 3rd place with 4 men remaining.
The Polish athletes in the past have been very good at dynamic and in strength endurance events. The legendary 5-time World's Strongest Man winner, Mariusz Pucinowski, he was very good at strength endurance events. And so Ostaszewski shows that quality as well.
Jits Kramer is up next out of the Netherlands, looking to make his first ever appearance at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He also needs to win this competition to get in.
Well, one of the things I like is obviously most of these guys grew up probably watching you. You were the voice in their head when they were training. To have you next to them, cheering them on. And up next, Jits Kramer from the Netherlands. And he's off. Look at him go.
Kramer trying to track down the time to beat. Still belongs to Jean-Francois Caron, 19.44 seconds.
Oh, yes. He's missed. Now he's missed the rope a few times with his
The tall Dutch athlete has long levers. Look, when he puts his foot down, he can push back further.
And he's going to have a shot here.
Maintaining foot surface. The longer your foot's on the ground.
And he has the new time to beat it, 19.38 seconds for Kramer. Wow. Just beating Jean-Francois Caron across the finish line. That is huge for Kramer, who again needs to win this competition to get himself into the Strongman Classic in March.
But this taller athlete, notice he has those long legs. And when he puts his foot down and he maintains pressure on the surface to push off and continue to push off, and that long leg length continue to develop power. The longer your foot is on the surface, the more speed and power that you can continue to develop as you pull the fire engine.
Up next, Maciej Kielarskowski out of Poland, and this young man, extremely impressive last year at the Arnold Strongman Classic when he finished 4th, put on what you called one of the most impressive performances you had ever seen in that stone-to-shoulder event.
Absolutely. I think every person that had been around Strongman for some time, we all just shook our head and looked at each other. I've never seen anything that's that singularly impressive compared to the competition.
Put that 410-pound stone at the Arnold Classic on his shoulder 4 different times and won that event easily.
Unbelievable. It's truly coming down to just fractions of a second between the different spots.
Kielarskowski's ready to go. Arnold is right there. 19.38 seconds is now your time to beat.
The Polish powerhouse. Look at him go.
So he was able to develop some momentum right off with his first pull. Had a little slip.
And that one's going to be close. We'll have to see how that slip may have affected him, but he demolishes the time to beat 17.91 seconds. Wow, that's unofficial, but Kielishkowski just hammering through that and now has a new time to beat.
And that includes a little bit of a slip. This young man is a terrific athlete as well as a very strong athlete.
And this kid has a bright future ahead of him. And he is just starting to round into form.
He does have an incredible future.
Right now has the event lead.
Martins Lissis is typically very, very good at odd types of events. He's a Moss wrestling champion, actually world champion. He defeated an undefeated Moss wrestler from Russia several years ago to be world champion. So anything that presents an off-balance implement or challenge, he is very good at.
For those of you who don't know what Moss wrestling is, it's a variation of stick wrestling. You can go online and look at it. It is certainly a battle of pure power between two men. Lissis has already qualified. He's the 2018 Arnold Classic Europe champion, and he is underway. Looking to track down Kielishkowski's time of 17.91 seconds.
Good foot speed, good hand speed. He's taking the slack out of the rope quickly. A lot of hip power, running with it at the end.
And then just drops the rope and gets himself across.
Arnold giving
in 19.19 seconds, so not enough to give him the event lead, but it will slot him right now into second place. Jerry Pritchett is the only man left. So Mateusz Kielishkowski looking to lock up 9 points here with an event win.
Kielishkowski wants as much distance as possible between himself and the other two athletes that are looking to qualify for the Arnold Strongman Classic.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 are guaranteed a spot. Jerry Pritchett is one of those 3 men tied atop the point standings. Now, if one of them were to win this whole event, all 3 would go because no one can catch them in the point standings. Where it gets tricky is if either Jitz Kramer, Mateusz Ostaszewski, or Brian Clark were to win this event. Then it comes down to who finishes ahead of whom between Pritchett, Belshak, and Kielishkowski in this event. But we still have 4 events to go before we get there, so a lot needs to happen.
He's an American out of Arizona. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some energy to Jerry Pritchett.
Pritchett is ready to go, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is right there to cheer him on. The last chance to track down Kielishkowski's top time is 17.91 seconds.
There we go. This is more what I was expecting, to have him pull this truck. Good foot speed, good hand speed.
Kielishkowski's going to win the event as Pritchett gets himself across the finish line. 21.22 seconds for Pritchett. A good effort from Jerry Pritchett, but Mateusz Kielishkowski will win the event at 17.91 seconds.
That doesn't surprise me, actually. A dynamic event like this that also has a component of strength endurance. As I said, Kielishkowski is a terrific athlete as well as a very strong competitor.
You mentioned the slack on that rope, and it looked like Pritchett was having problems keeping that thing taut because he was moving so quickly.
Yes, and sometimes that's what happens. Even sometimes an athlete will just drop the rope, and the leader, in other words, someone who will actually walk with the athlete and pull the rope out of the way, will just take the rope out of the way. Because if the athlete is able to drop his hips and really get good momentum, pulling with his hands will actually impede his progress. Sometimes he'll just drop the rope and keep moving.
Great crowd on hand here at the Santa Monica Pier on a picture-perfect day for the Arnold Pro Strongman USA, the final qualifying event for the 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic. And now Arnold Schwarzenegger will lead the athletes into the arena.
And so they're all vying for an opportunity to compete in the world's heaviest strongman competition. Year after year, the heaviest weights lifted, the most epic implements are always at the Classic in Columbus, Ohio.
And remember, last year at the Arnold Strongman Classic, it was Hathor Bjornsson who set the world deadlift record on that elephant bar, 1,041 pounds, as more and more people are filing in here. And this year at the Arnold Strongman Classic, if someone were to beat that record of 1,041 pounds in the deadlift event, there is a $50,000 check waiting for them.
He has to pull the magical 500 kilograms or 1,100 pounds. So here comes Arnold, and look at the crowd that's assembled here.
What are the odds that we get you to throw up some weight here?
Look at the enthusiastic crowd that we have here, Matt. Look how much enthusiasm there's here. I think the crowd is more pumped up than you and me are.
Never.
I'm
But I
telling
like
you.
this crowd because this
I'm
crowd
telling you.
knows these
Look at that.
athletes thrive on the energy. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Arnold Schwarzenegger a warm welcome at his event.
Look at that. Look at this. I told you, these people.
Oh my goodness! Look who's
Oh my God! It's Lou Ferrigno.
Lou Ferrigno.
The Hulk is here. Look at that.
Amazing.
Now we have to be very careful because this guy is really powerful.
I want to say, first of all, thank you for putting this great event on, and also the firefighters. But I was very honored to be in the first World's Strongest Man, with Franco, because we had a chance to show that bodybuilders like us are strong as we look. And it's amazing, 40-some years later, how it's such a great event. And I want to say thank you for having this event here, because people in California need something like this, the respect, the admiration, the excitement, and the adulation, everything.
Isn't it great when you see the Hulk being so enthusiastic? Thank you very much for coming out here, supporting the firefighters. Thank you so much for coming out here and being such a great friend of not only myself, but also of the bodybuilders and the world's strongest men that are out here competing, and also the firefighters that will be competing later on. So this is really great. Thank you so much, Lou, for being here.
Also, I want to say, being a deputy sheriff for 15 years in California with the first responders, and how important that the firefighters, they risk their lives doing this. So please pay attention and give a contribution. But thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Arnold.
Thank you,
You
Lou.
still look
Thank
great.
you. Let's give him a big hand to Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk, and my great friend.
Thank you.
Lou. Thank you.
I gotta say, how great is it? We know you and Lou had a legendary rivalry, but today is about building bridges. Today is about something bigger. So right now, we're going to turn the stage over to you, Governor, because you can explain what this event is all about.
First of all, I think let's go over here with the camera, because Lou's wife is here also, Carla. You don't never forget the other half, okay? Or maybe even the better half. Well, very nice. Good to have you here. You look fantastic and in great shape, okay? Great to see you, huh?
You tell everybody who she is?
Of course.
You remember her?
What kind of a question is that? Do I remember her? I always will remember Carla, because remember, that's your better half. Remember, Lou, okay?
Thank you.
All right, it's good to see you both. Yeah, thank you for coming out here. And then we have Franco Colombo here. Come on, let's give him a big hand. Franco Colombo, Mr. Olympia, and world's strongest man in his weight category, deadlifting 740 pounds in his heyday.
The build-up. Great for the build-up. Yeah.
Exactly, Franco. It's great to see you here, and it's great to have you support powerlifting and the world's strongest man and all those muscles here. It's great to see you.
You know what? How you cannot be here? You have to be present and see everything. Can you believe that the wood comes from Austria?
Exactly.
You cut it yourself.
Yes. Let's not give all the secrets away, Franco, okay? It's good to have you here. Let's give a big hand to Franco Colombo. Anyway, I just want to say it's great to have you all here. We came up with this idea of doing the World's Strongest Man competition here at the Santa Monica Pier, because there used to be Muscle Beach right next door here. But they got rid of Muscle Beach, which I think was a big mistake. And they moved it down to Venice. So now the weightlifting platform is down in Venice. But we wanted to bring some muscles back here. And let's not forget that everything starts from that world's strongest man base. Because even bodybuilding came from the world's strongest man competition from Eugene Sander, who was like the first one that had muscles, tremendous muscles, and also was one of the world's strongest men. And the weightlifting came from that sport. Powerlifting came from that sport, and bodybuilding came from that sport. So this is the basis. This is why I'm so passionate about the world's strongest man. That's why I'm promoting it all over the world. We have it in 6 different continents throughout the year. We have those competitions, and it's great that for the first time we have the world's strongest man here in Santa Monica at this beautiful historic pier. So let's give a big hand to those world's strongest men that came from all over the world. And then we started the dialogue about, here's, if we sell 1,000 tickets, that's how much money we can make. And this is, if we sell 1,000 T-shirts, this is how much money we can make. And all this dialogue was going on about how much money we can make. And I said, well, wait a minute, guys. We don't really need the money. We have plenty of money. I said, let's give that money that we make, every single dollar that we make here in proceeds, let's give it to the firefighters here in California. So I was so happy that everyone agreed, because I can tell you, when I was governor of California, I saw firsthand the kind of miracles that those guys and those women perform when they fight the fires. I've seen them being up there in the mountains 24 hours, 48 hours, 36 hours without any sleep, fighting the fires and fighting and fighting. So this is why I saw firsthand that we have the most powerful, the most energetic, the most courageous, and the best firefighters in the world. So let's give a big hand to our great, great firefighters that are risking their lives every single day to save ours. So I'm delighted that we could put this together, and that we're going to see the firefighters also having a strongman competition here. The world's strongest firefighter. We want to find out who is the world's strongest firefighter. So I'm really looking forward to that event. But anyway, you will see 4 more lifts and kind of crazy things that these guys are doing here. So let's go and get going with our show. I kick it back to Matt. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you,
let's
Governor.
Let's give a big hand to Matt for coming in here extra and doing the emceeing. And also, great thank you to you.
John
also.
Anderson.
Yeah, it's
Thank
really
you, Arnold.
fantastic.
Thank you so much.
I mean, there's a lot of things popping up on your body. I mean, Jesus. I mean, this is like unbelievable. Look at the triceps. This is like look at the traps. What is going on up here?
Well, Arnold,
and the delta, oh my God, look at this delta. I cannot even, it doesn't even go into my hand. I have big hands.
Well, Arnold, I got to tell you, you were the one who threw the first spark in this whole thing right here.
I know, but it's fantastic. You look unbelievable. Let's give him a good hand. Let's do a double bicep shot quickly for the guys. Come on, I hold your mic. Do a double bicep shot. Right over there. And right over there with this crowd. Very nice. Look at that. The monster. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank you, Arnold.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I got to say, I've been your apprentice. You were the boss. You've never pointed anything out on my body that was bulging, Governor. I'm feeling a little neglected right here. But right now, we're going to continue this competition, because today we're going to crown a strongman here at Santa Monica, and they're going to go to the World Championship.
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is having the best time out of anybody out here. Here are your results after the first event. Taylor Skoski picks up the win by nearly 2 seconds over Martin Thesis. Yitz Kramer is third, and then followed by J.F. Caron. When we come back, event number 2, the log press, and we will meet the athletes competing in the Arnold Pro Strongman USA.
youngest man. He'll be going first. Also, out of Arizona, a man who's been in this sport for 20 years, Jerry Pritchett.
Push your hands together, everyone.
This guy is a beast, 6'4", 370. And then out of Estonia, Arno Heinla. 6'1", 301, won the Arnold competition in Australia. And then the youngest athlete at just 20 years of age, Matusz Ostaszewski. I saw that dude last night. He had like 7 Polish sausages. He was loving it. And next up out of Slovenia, Mariusz Belshak. We saw him go first in that truck pull. Now, we're going to introduce him. We had a little development. We mentioned it. He was battling an injury on that truck pull. Despite his remarkable pull, he pulled a hamstring. He's not going to be competing, but he deserves your respect because he's already qualified for the World Championships out of Quebec. Give it up for JF Caron! And next up, Jitsi Kramer out of the Netherlands. And how about that eyewear? This man isn't just strong, he's got style. And then the man known as the Dragon, the man with the fire in his belly, out of the USA via Latvia, Martins Lesis. Martins! And finally, the man who we just saw won the truck pull with a time almost 2 seconds better than any other competitor. A man who may well be the future of this sport. Give it up for the 24-year-old Matusz Kalishkovsky! Ladies and gentlemen, these are your strongmen for today.
Now, Matt, before we let these guys go back and get warmed up, what I want to point out is it's really hard to tell truly how enormous they are. Now, when I walk up in front of these guys, I want you to realize I'm 6 feet, about 290. They're going to make me look like I'm some sort of a miniature. So check this out. Do you truly get a feel for how large these guys are? Like I said, just under 300 pounds and 6 foot. I look like I still have yet some growing to do. So these guys are truly, truly monsters, modern-day gladiators, ready to go to battle.
I got to be honest, I thought I saw Ostaszewski go for some mustard. He was going to put you in a bun and eat you. That dude looks hungry.
That's not surprising at all. I just look like dinner to these guys.
So here we go. We've got one contest down. Kalishkovsky took first place in that. Now we're moving on to the log press. These athletes, JF Caron is out. He's already earned his spot. Congratulations, sir. These 8 are going to be vying for this title today.
That's it. Literally, we've got tons of action for you today, guys. And the best part is, when they're not going full bore, we've got entertainment in between every one of these strong events.
Non-stop action. So
Picture perfect day in Santa Monica, California as the Arnold Pro Strongman USA competition continues. Thanks for being with us, everybody, today. I'm Sean Woodland with Dr. Bill Crawford, and we are set for the second of 5 events today. It is the log press, and that is what awaits the athletes, 385 pounds.
The log press has to be one of the most difficult events that you can do, because you've got to clean the log each and every time, and that requires a lot of stamina as well as tremendous strength. We're ready to go, so we're getting out the first athlete. I believe they're warmed up. So you'll notice that when the athletes pick up the log, they'll reset themselves and turn their hands over, and they'll roll the log back. That gives it a little bit of kick and puts it into place. But unlike a barbell that's right under your chin, this log is out further from your chest.
Brian Clark will be up first. The order of this event is determined by the results from the prior event. Clark finished 9th in that last event, so he will lead things off, and that means the man who won the event, Mateusz Kieliszkowski, will go last, and that can be a huge advantage in an event like this.
Yes, absolutely. Kieliszkowski winning the event, and convincingly, that puts him in the driver's seat after the first event. And Mateusz is also, Kieliszkowski is also very good at the log press. He's had very good results in training, he told me.
Brian Clark needs to do very well in this event to make it for that 9th place finish in the fire engine pull.
Where you feel this event mostly is, surprisingly, it's not in the shoulders. It's actually the abdominal muscles. Trying to support this weight over your head is getting it up to your chest each and every time. And after it gets overhead, you have to hold it, and that really gets your abdominal muscles.
They will not get credit for partial reps. A rep will only count once they have it locked out overhead. And they have 1 minute in which to get as many reps as possible. And Clark's still looking for his first press. He has it up, but he just can't support it.
No, not able to get it up. It's 385 pounds. And they're going for reps. Just 15 years ago, this was the absolute world's record in this event. Ravensburg Madison was the first to lift this 175-kilogram log. The crowd's really behind him.
And Clark will not be able to get 1 repetition. Again, he has to win this event in order to get to the Arnold Classic in March in Columbus, Ohio.
This just shows how heavy these implements are, that an athlete of this ability and strength has this much difficulty with this kind of implement.
Jerry Pritchett getting ready. Where did Clark really struggle on this?
Well, notice how he resets. He's just not able to get it up and over, get his hands to turn over. And believe it or not, you just want to get your wrist to pull back and up a little bit. Sometimes it helps to redouble your legs, to rebend your legs, but that's quite difficult with a log. So you really got to get those wrists active and get that log up to your chest quickly.
Jerry Pritchett, who often trains with Brian Clark, is up next. Pritchett in 8th place overall after that fire engine pull.
This experienced strongman really needs to come across with this event. He finds himself in a little bit of a hole. Getting an 8th place in the fire engine pull.
Pritchett looking at his first rep. And he can't press it overhead.
Got it up quickly.
And Pritchett is going to call it.
So he's withdrawing it.
So Jerry Pritchett is relatively safe as far as the Arnold Strongman Classic is concerned as we take a look at his one and only attempt here.
So as you see, he was able to get the log up quickly to his chest. It looks like he had some separation from his chest, but just couldn't get the initial phase of the lockout. You want to get it past your nose, and from there you can start the second phase of a press. If you can't get it up to the past the chin and up to the nose fairly quickly, then it turns into much more of a struggle, because then you've got the implement in front of you and it wants to dump forward.
Ronald Heinle will be up next. Heinle has already qualified for the Arnold Strongman Classic, and this event similar to one they will face in Columbus with the Austrian Oak, but that log 70 pounds heavier than what they're facing today.
Yeah, so notice he's really getting himself ready. Sometimes some of the athletes will actually cough out so they can expand their lungs, so when the log gets up to their chest. Yes, first rep.
First rep good for Ronald Heinle, and he is now your event leader.
Now notice how when he gets it to his lap, he bends over into the log a little bit and then rolls it back quickly.
Two down for Heinle.
So you have to have the weight overhead, stabilize at arm's length with feet stable before they give you the down.
Heinle going for three.
Oh, not quite able to get it stabilized. Did get it past his face, but it wasn't on the way back.
So still 2 reps for Ronald Heinle.
15 seconds to dig deep, get that third repetition. Every rep counts.
And just can't lock it out, but an impressive performance for Ronald Heinle, the 6-time Estonia's strongest man, who started weightlifting and powerlifting when he was just 10 years old.
That was a great effort. You notice that the attempts that he actually got the implement overhead and locked out, he got it over his face quickly. And the times that he didn't get over his face quickly, it actually then fell forward. And that's one of the technical points with a log. You want that momentum to go backwards, just a bit over the face. And that lines you up in line with the body and helps your leverages so that you can get the implement overhead.
Matthews Ostaszewski up next. 6th place after the first event, trying to get back to the Arnold Strongman Classic for the 2nd time in his career. Last year he finished 10th.
Already on the world stage. Truly, truly amazing. Well, he won the Arnold Amateur in 2017. Here we go, it's up. And there's the clean. Now it's all about overhead. And look at how awkward that head position is. Oh, and clearly he saw something in his shoulder. He felt that.
And not able to lock out the press. So Ostaszewski shaking out his right arm, and he's not going to make another attempt. And Ostaszewski is in the same boat as Brian Clark. He has got to win this entire competition in order to get himself to the Arnold Strongman Classic.
So I think he had somewhat of a shoulder issue. He really wasn't able to get it up. Sometimes when an athlete grabs the front of their shoulder area like that, when pulling up a heavy implement like this, like a log press, it's sometimes the proximal attachment of their bicep. It's not truly their shoulder.
Keep an eye on Ostaszewski.
Yes, this is a tremendous amount of strain on your biceps and your forearms as you pull the implement up.
Matej Belšak out of Slovenia up next. Last year, 6th overall at the Arnold Strongman Classic. And he is one of the 3 men who is tied for the lead in the points standings. Those points based on where you finished in the other qualifying events.
This beautiful implement, the Slater log. Very balanced implement.
There we go. No problem for Belšak to his shoulders. And the press looks relatively easy.
Very good.
So 1 down.
Very good. The 2 components, getting it to his chest and then getting it over his face to complete the press. Both went very efficiently. We also noticed that he's getting some hips and thighs into the second phase of the lift.
Ronald Heinle is the man who has the repetitions to beat, and now Belšak is tied with Heinle.
A small, quick dip with the legs. You can't dip too much, and then you're leaning forward too much.
The crowd behind Belšak as he looks to take the event lead. This is his 3rd attempt. And like Heinle, he just cannot make that third lift. So he and Heinle tied for first place. Great performance from Maciej Belshak.
Fantastic performance. You can tell these athletes are really trained on this implement. Very heavy implement. It's a little bit longer than typically you'll find with the log press. Here's the second rep. Notice he keeps that form where he has a little bit of a leg drive, gets it over the face, and now he can lock it out. And that's a tremendous amount of pressure when it gets over your head.
Here's Jits Kramer out of the Netherlands. Third place after one event. Kramer needs to work himself to the top of the overall leaderboard. One of the men who needs to win the whole competition to get in. Has never been to the Arnold Strongman Classic, looking for his first career appearance in Columbus. He's going to need 3 reps in order to win this event.
Oh, he couldn't get the clean.
He's going to bow out.
Yes. He's a very tall athlete, and sometimes the taller athletes can have difficulty with these implements as they start out.
Well, like Kramer just couldn't figure this thing out.
Yes, he does dip down, but he just doesn't have the coordination of the effort from his thighs with his arms to get it up to his chest. It's not just pure strength; it's also a matter of how efficient you are from one phase to the next.
There's Martins Lisis.
Lisis is very strong overhead. He told me he's had a very good training cycle and is very motivated to win today.
Yeah, grew up in Latvia before he moved to California when he was 20 years old, and he used to train by lifting stones at his grandparents' farm, and he has the log shouldered, but now struggling with his first press.
He needs to get over his face and back over the head. We got a repetition.
At least he sticks with it, and 1 is down. No man has gotten more than 2. Maciej Belshak and Ronald Heinle, the 2 men who have completed 2 successful lifts.
There he goes, second clean. Much more efficient with the clean.
At least he can't get the second press.
Very close.
You got to wonder how much those first 2 attempts took out of him on his first rep.
That's exactly right. You only have so much time. If you'll notice, he did have the turnover of the wrist. Got it quickly and efficiently to his chest. A quick dip, but just can't get the implement back over his face.
But that's the difference between 2 inches and not. That judge will not give credit unless it's locked out. Well, we have talked about this guy.
And there he gets it back over his face. He's able to get leverage and get under the implement.
1 good rep for Martins Lisis, a man who has already qualified for the Arnold Classic. And here comes your current leader after 1 event, Maciej Kieliszkowski, out of Poland.
Getting some last-second instruction from the head judge.
Needs 3 reps to win the event, 2 to tie for first. And right now, Jerry Pritchett and Maciej Belshak are cheering for this man, because if Kieliszkowski wins this event, both Belshak and Pritchett are the other 2 men to qualify for the Arnold Strongman Classic.
He's quite good with his overhead. He told me so.
Oh, give me a break.
Wow.
That is too easy.
Unbelievable.
Kieliszkowski.
Unbelievable.
Someone check that log and make sure it's the same one the other guys were using. 1 rep down for Kieliszkowski, and he has plenty more in the tank. And there is 2.
So just like with putting a big stone on your shoulder, he's a very explosive athlete. He doesn't need to regroup. He just takes it straight from the lap and straight overhead.
This for the event win. Two events, 2 wins for Kieliszkowski.
Wow. That puts him in the driver's seat.
He is on a tear in Santa Monica.
That puts him in the driver's seat, no question about it. I'll have to say, just like last year with the stone press, I have not seen this quite. I've never seen a log that size handled in that way.
I mean, no pause. Now, this is his third rep. He's tired here. This looks better than some of the guys that we saw in their first rep.
Absolutely. And still stuck with that style of going straight from the lap overhead. That is unbelievable. So he's done two things in the last calendar year, within the last year that I've never seen elsewhere. Fantastic effort.
Hillers-Koski continues to look very impressive here at the Arnold Pro Strongman World Series USA, as he has won 2 of the 5 events so far. And that is good news for both Maciej Belshak and Jerry Pritchett. Ronald Heinle and Belshak each get 2, and Martins Lees is the only other man to successfully lift that log, as 5 men are unable to complete a repetition. JF Carone has withdrawn from the competition. He has a hamstring issue, and not a problem for Carone right now because he has already qualified.
Unfortunately, I do. And Sophia, what about you? Are you into power?
2 events are down. We have 3 events to go, and up next we'll be talking to Brian Shaw as the deadlift is coming up. Stay with us here at the Arnold Pro Strongman USA. Back at the Santa Monica Pier in beautiful Southern California for the Arnold Strongman USA competition. We are through 2 events, getting set for event number 3. It is the last man standing deadlift firefighter competition going on among some local firefighters from Santa Monica. Being joined right now by a man who has won the Arnold Strongman Classic 3 times. He is Brian Shaw. He has already qualified for the 2019 Arnold Classic. How are you feeling now as you get set for that event?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good actually right now. I mean, it's always kind of a fine line of making sure you're healthy, making sure the training's on point, and making sure that the end goal is peaking at the Arnold at the first weekend of March, really.
With such a limited time now to get ready for that event, what do you focus on with your training?
Well, I mean, basically I'll start to back off a little bit of the gym stuff and start to do more of the actual events. So that'll take the priority kind of here for the last 6 weeks.
You finished second last year to Half Thor. He is here today. Yeah. Obviously, he has a big target on his back for you. What are you going to have to do in order to beat him in Columbus?
Well, he's going to, I mean, in all honesty, he's going to have some great events this year with the events they've chosen. And he'll be tough to beat. I mean, we're going to be in a battle again. It's going to be head-to-head, you know, so it's not, the key is really not dropping any points and making sure that I come in ready to fight.
Yeah. You didn't get the highest mark, but I got to say, I want
also,
you over here
Brian, I know that you're competing against all the other strongmen, but also at some level you're competing against history. 4-time TWI World's Strongest Man, 3-time Arnold champion, too many world records in open competitions to count. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you're exactly right. It's legacy, and you know what I have established over, you know, gosh, more than a decade now of doing the Arnold and competing in World's Strongest Man, and you know, it's important. It's important to leave that track record, you know, and to chalk up those wins. I mean, it's something where, you know, I don't necessarily feel like I have anything left to prove, but I still have goals, right? So I still want to accomplish things, and my competitiveness has not left at all. I mean, I only lost the Arnold last year by a very small margin. It's a couple points here or there. If I would have lifted my last deadlift last year, I would have won the contest. It was that close. So it's kind of picking apart what can I do better, how can I come in better this year, and that's what goes through my head in training and in preparation.
Well, not a lot of weaknesses in your performances, so it just comes down to what you can actually improve on, and then it turns into that continued competitive fire.
Yeah, that's it. If you have that competitive fire, for me, I'm constantly thinking about it, how I can get better, what I can do better. I mean, there was, like I said, a couple events. I was disappointed in my deadlift last year, and disappointed really with the stone to shoulder event. I really lost a lot of points on that one. So, you know, it's cleaning those things up, making sure that I'm ready to perform, and it's going to be fun. It really is going to be fun.
You mentioned the deadlift. That's the event that is up next year. It will be a little bit different of a format than we saw in Columbus, Ohio. This is a last man standing format. They're going to start at 700 pounds, and each competitor needs to lift every weight. They will increase in alternating increments of 50 pounds and then 40 pounds. So where you had a lot of strategy that came into play in Columbus, here it's all about you just got to go out and grip it and rip it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to call the weights. They're going to, you know, it's just a rising bar, so you've just got to get the lift done and move on to the next round.
From a mental standpoint, if you're an athlete competing in this, how does that differ from what you guys did in Columbus with that strategy involved?
Yeah, it's drastically different, you know, because in Columbus you're calling your own weight, so you're looking at what the next guy might pull, of what he's potentially written down for the next lift, so you've got to stay ahead of that, and there's a lot of moving parts to that, whereas this, you don't have to necessarily think as much. It's just go out and lift the weight and move on to the next round and try to get through every lift as efficiently and easily as you can.
Brian Clark will be up first. Here are your standings after 2 events. Mateusz Kieliszkowski is your leader, over 4 points over Martin Visas, who has already qualified. If Kieliszkowski hangs on to win this, he, Jerry Pritchett, and Maciej Belshak will all advance to the Arnold Classic in Columbus in March. Brian Clark is a guy who is up first with just 1 point in the overall standings. He needs to basically sweep these final 3 events. He has got to win this competition in order to get himself to the Arnold Classic for the first time in his career.
This is an event that tests the body's total strength. A lot of people say body power, but this isn't how fast you lift it, it's just getting it up. So this is a total body strength lift. And typically, there are a couple of points aside. It's really who's the strongest deadlifter.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that with strongman, you're not judged on how you actually lift the weight. It's just finishing the lift. So, as opposed to powerlifting, you get 3 white lights. This is simply just a down call, so you have to get it from point A to point B as easily as you can, and it doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to get done.
Well, another beautiful part about this is that the judge really doesn't participate in strongman, except just to have the put-down signal.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you're not looking at lights, and it really is just lift the weight, get the down call, and move on.
Brian Clark up first, the starting weight, 700 pounds.
So they're allowed to use straps.
They just want to get through without wasting too much energy.
And this bar is much different than what we saw at the Arnold Classic last year with that elephant bar.
Yes, there's not a lot of give in this bar. It's a raw steel bar, has a deep knurling.
Position. He's got his straps on. Wow, easy.
So no problem for Brian Clark as he is through 700 pounds. Remember, each athlete will lift this weight. As soon as you fail, you are done.
Jerry Pritchett, it's his turn.
That looks pretty easy. We're just starting out, really kind of a warm-up for most of these athletes. So if you've got a little bit of give in the middle of the bar, that allows for the weights, the plates on the end to actually start to give you a little bit of momentum to bring it up. This bar is pretty stiff. It's 6 inches longer than a normal bar, but that's about it.
Jerry Pritchett up next, 700 pounds on the bar. This is a man you've competed against quite a bit.
Yeah, Jerry's very much known for his deadlift ability, so I'm sure that he's going to be looking to try to win this event.
He'll definitely need the points.
And Pritchett makes that look light, and he is through.
Yeah, with the setup like this, the warm-up equipment in the back, a lot of people don't realize that the warm-up equipment in the back can be drastically different to coming on stage here. So a lot of these guys, their first lift, they're coming up, they're getting a feel of the platform, obviously getting a feel of the bar, and trying to gain that confidence with that first lift. Get that one done, you kind of let out that sigh of relief, and then you get dialed in for the next lifts.
So we saw Yitza pull off kick off his shoes. He's in sock feet. That's to decrease the distance he has to pull the bar, and as a tall man, that's important.
700 pounds for Kramer.
725.
Very easily done. Brian, just commenting about how deadlift is different with straps a little bit with strongman. The approach is to put your feet out a little bit wider and also to have a little bit wider grip typically.
Yeah,
start with your hips as opposed to your back.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, the straps are certainly a game changer because effectively it takes the grip out and it allows everybody to pull with a double overhand placement, which means that you can set into the lift a little bit more, and like you said, then try your best. A lot of us are so strong to our hips and our legs that starting the bar off the floor in that position, it will really help a lot.
This is Martins. Good pull. I believe he pulled over 900 pounds last year at the Arnold on the elephant bar. So he made that 700 pounds look pretty easy.
Ronald Heinle up next, another man who has already locked up a spot in the Arnold Strongman Classic in Columbus this March.
Yeah, Ronald's a great deadlifter, actually. He pulled some very big weights, so I expect this to be pretty easy for him.
And no problem for Heinle, as this 700-pound barbell is proving to be an informal warm-up for most of these men.
Yes, I believe he placed third in the 2015 World Deadlift Championships. And you can see those hip flexors popping out through his shorts. I mean, that's a sign of a big puller.
Yeah, Ronald is a guy that, for whatever reason, some guys still underestimate him a little bit with these events, but I expect him to be right at the top with this deadlift competition.
They're just getting
Matches Belshak up next.
conservation, so when that weight gets nasty, they got plenty of energy left in the tank.
He's using his straps. He's getting strapped up. There are different styles of straps. There's the figure-8 straps that have become popular for some. There's shorter straps, thinner straps, longer straps. It's really the preference of the strongman.
The further that distance is, the heavier the weight's going to feel to them. So you watch. They're dragging it straight up their legs.
Belshak is through.
So far, everyone's looked pretty good with 700 pounds. So again, just the socks, just to decrease the how high you have to pull the bar up. If you can take a ½ inch or an inch from not having soles on your shoes, and actually be able to decrease the width that you have to pull the bar, because that can be a big inch because you have to lock the bar out. The other one too is that personally, I know a lot of big deadlifters say that the less they have on their feet, they can feel their feet pushed down on the floor as opposed to try to stand up with the bar.
Yeah, I'm with regard to the socks, I mean, it again is personal preference, and you know, for me, there's Kieliszkowski. That's good. I know he's been working really hard on his deadlift, so I'm interested to see how he does with this contest today. But finishing up that thought of them.
Yeah, this looked really simple. I remember last year in Columbus, he came off the floor, I think, after failing a lift, and you were right there talking to him. What did you say to him at that point?
Mateus is he has big expectations for himself. He's very competitive. He's young, and he tends to get down on himself. He's really hard on himself. So it's more, you know, something for me as a veteran. I see how much potential he has. And, you know, sometimes a pat on the back from somebody like me and just saying, hey, buddy, you know, just keep your head up. It's coming, whatever. I really want him to come train with me in Colorado. I'm trying to get him out for that. It's crazy with our schedules, but, yeah, it's just a pat on the back. That's really all it was at that point, you know, just saying keep your head up.
You can see that kid has tons of potential.
He's incredibly athletic. He's fast. He's strong. He's got all the tools, and it'll be exciting to see as he grows into his frame. It'll be really exciting.
765 pounds is now on the barbell, and Brian Clark is back up. This is his second lift. And still no problem for Brian Clark as he is through, and that'll give way to Jerry Pritchett.
I think Brian kind of used he let his shoulders drop a little bit, which is okay if you keep your lower back straight. And then you just have to stand and pull back some. Some really big deadlifters have used that style in the past.
You can see here Jerry's got a flat shoe on. I'm the same way. I actually prefer pulling in a very, very thin shoe. Just always been a personal preference, and I could go in a lot more detail, but actually get more power out of it.
765 for Jerry Pritchett is no problem. He stays alive. Wow. So every man is still alive here in this last man standing event, the third of 5 events here.
And being 6'8", Brian, that's a long way to pull.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, the height of some of these guys, you know, getting down to a 9-inch deadlift bar is quite a challenge. You know, it's definitely a lot lower for guys like us when we're taller. Seems like almost a deficit pull at times.
Absolutely. He's down. He's really talking to himself. He's getting himself going. There we go.
This is Yitz Kramer at 765.
765 for Kramer.
And that was easy.
Wow.
Big pull. Very quick. That just shows that a lot of these guys are way off from getting up to their maximum lift. We're going to see a big deadlift today.
Yeah, that looked really, really comfortable for Kramer.
And a 6'5" athlete, that's quite a lift.
Yeah.
I do know that he's up next.
I do know that there's a lot of discussion about how fast you can pull a lighter weight to develop power for a bigger deadlift.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes, you know, you see guys That looked really good for Martins there. Yeah, you see guys pull the lighter weights, and sometimes they're very, very fast, and then when they get to the bigger weights, they almost can't shift into that, for lack of a better term, like 4-low gear and really grind through a heavier weight. They almost have to pull it faster. They don't pull it. And, you know, other big deadlifters, they'll pull even the lighter weights a little bit slower, but they can just keep going. As the bar gets heavier, they pull it the same exact way.
Yes.
This guy, deadlift expert.
And all the guys are out there helping each other. Look at the hip musculature on Rauno. He's a terrific deadlifter. And, you know, the idea that, Brian, you would like to have Kay Liskowski come train with you, an active competitor, and these guys are over on the side talking to each other. Strong men really want each other to do their best. You only want to beat your competitor if he's at his best.
Absolutely. I mean, that's true for me. I can say 100%. I don't want anybody hurt or banged up. I want everybody to bring their top A game, and then we'll find out who the strongest is. And I really believe that if not all the guys, the majority of guys feel that exact same way.
Yes.
Here's Maciej Belshak for his second lift, 765 pounds, still on the barbell.
He's going to roll it back in, keep it nice and close to his legs, and drag it on out. Get those hips down. Look at that.
Good lift for Belshak.
Belshak's been dealing with a little bit of a hip issue, and I was talking to him earlier about some of the training, and that's been affecting him a little bit with his training, and he's trying to figure out what's going on, and something like that can really hamper your training, especially when you're talking about big weights. So
yes.
I know that that would probably be easier for him. So he's been battling through that, at least in training. So
I would imagine so.
Literally starting to get all cylinders working.
Kay Liskowski up next.
This is
your overall leader right now.
Yes, he's dominated the first two events, but to be able to have a solid showing in the deadlift would really lock him in towards the last two events.
Give him some support, Kay Liskowski at 765. Got it.
I think he pulled a little more smoothly. I think one thing he did, he put his heels together a little bit and pointed his toes out, kind of giving some quads off the bottom of the lift. Some guys do that.
Yeah. There's a lot with a lot of people think the deadlift is just picking the bar up, you know, and standing up with it. And there's so much little detail in this lift. It's ridiculous. I mean, I know for me, I watch video weekly on myself, trying to analyze what I could do just a little bit different, you know, how my feet are, hips, knee placement, back, hip, you know, just across the board. So it's a very technical lift, especially when you get up to the bigger weights. There's not a lot of room for error.
Okay, so this is 815 pounds. And Brian Clark's up, starting the next round, the third round, getting strapped up. He changed his pulling style a little bit. He let his shoulders go a little lax.
Absolutely. They just know.
Looking down. He's going to stand up. Double clutching. Pulling back. Wow, great
That'll
lift.
count for Brian Clark as he stays alive, and he is pumped up.
He really, really wanted that lift. He really wanted to. Watch how he starts off. He gets it to his knees, and then he gets over the knees, and he keeps pulling back. He keeps pulling back, locks out.
And, Brian, that's a perfect example of what you were saying earlier. It just has to get from point A to B. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just needs to get there.
That's it. He got the down call, and he chalked that up on the scoreboard, so good for him.
I'd like to know if that's a personal best.
Seemed like from his reaction it might have been. Yeah. You know, that would be really cool if it was.
It was. So Jerry Pritchett, who's a scientist with the deadlift, he's got a lot of things to say about the deadlift. The powerlifting world record holder as well as the strongman world record holder in the past.
Jerry Pritchett just mauls that weight.
Very deliberate.
One thing I want to point out here, Matt, is that most of these
Yeah, he's a little different. He just had a straight pull, no hitching, straight up, feet out. He kept a little bit more of a flat upper back when he started the lift. Okay, so Kramer had a great lift the last round. Came off the ground really, really smoothly and very efficiently. got his groove. I guess, Brian, you know, the only way to learn how to lift a heavy weight is to lift a lot of heavy weights.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's easy, really easy with the lighter weights to keep really good form. But once you get up to a heavier bar weight, that's where you start to see your weaknesses and what you need to work on.
Wow, very nice. Kramer, no problem, as we have yet to have a man bow out here. All 8 competitors still alive here in this third of 5 events.
Man, Martins is like raw meat. Martins is right on the bar. He's almost pushing the other guy out of the way. He is focused.
He's definitely ready to go. I know Martins has been working really hard on his deadlift too, so he's going to want to put up a big result here.
Absolutely.
Looking to get back to the Arnold Classic for the second time in his career. He's already qualified. He was there in 2017 when he finished 8th, and at 815 pounds, wow, at least he stays
Very
alive.
Nice. You know, these Rogue barbells are really well made. I got a chance to talk to Bill Henniger, the owner of Rogue. They work on tensile strength. They've given the athletes absolutely every chance to have the best result with these barbells that they put out.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's amazing, too. There's a lot that goes into a quality bar.
Yes.
And Rogue does it better than anybody.
They really do.
They're chomping at the bit to get on the platform. And they won in 215.
Here's Ronald Heinle
This guy was competing in the World Deadlift Championship.
at 815 pounds.
We know this is his specialty.
Easy day for Ronald Heinle.
Wow. That's a very efficient pull. If we can go back to that and just watch him come off the ground, he keeps that bar, his weight is distributed right over the center of his foot, and he gets it to his knee in a really smooth fashion. And then once it gets to his knees, it's lights out.
Yeah, he's got a lot of power left in the tank there.
Absolutely.
There's Matjas Belshak, who struggled a little bit on his last lift. We'll see what he has left in the tank here for 815 pounds.
He's trying to stay in this competition now in the third round. Everybody's looking really strong.
Leave a mark that they can't shake off for the next event. Belshak. You can hear him getting fired up. You know, part of dealing with pushing through an injury.
Belshak has himself set. Now 815 pounds for the man from Slovenia.
Oh, he's going to do a little barbell roll, it looks like. There he comes, there he comes. Oh.
Belshak will not get that one to go, so he will be the first man out here in the last man standing deadlift.
Yes. So I have to say that that's the first guy we've seen have a rolling start on the deadlift. I know that a couple of other deadlifters like Benedict Magnuson rolls the bar. Yoko Hola used to roll the bar. So he really had, you see his face there. He was really trying to get that bar up. Right there, he just needed that next 3 inches to get it to his knees. And also, you notice how the other strongmen are, saying, hey, man, you did a great job today, giving him a pat on the back. So this is a very important lift for Mateusz Kaliskowski. He's dominated in the first 2 events, and this would separate him from some of the other athletes who haven't been able to lift this.
And 816 pounds was the most that he lifted at the Arnold Classic last year. This is just 1 pound less than that.
He is filling out in his frame every year, just getting measurably stronger and bigger.
There we go.
Kaliskowski nails the lift.
Very nice. That was a very smooth lift. I think he had a little more. He's got a little more in the tank, but he definitely had to put another gear on that. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, that was a really important lift for him in this contest because so many guys were successful there. He had to get on to the next round. We'll see what comes with the next weight. Like you said, I think he had to step it up a notch. But I think he's got a little bit more in the tank, so we'll see.
So 855 pounds now, so they've gone up by 40 pounds.
So I guarantee he's won the first 2 events. He's used this strategy. He's just.
So it's another piece of this. It's that what weaknesses do you have? You have to eliminate your weaknesses, Brian.
For me, I mean,
for all athletes that in a competition with multiple events, you've got to eliminate your weaknesses.
That's
and be
it.
consistent.
I mean, across the board, my rule of thumb for myself is I want to go to any contest and be able to place top 3 in any event, whether it's for max or reps or you're lifting a log or a dumbbell. It doesn't matter, and that's if you can do that in the sport of strongman, you're going to do pretty well. Easier said than done, though.
Yes. I remember Magnus for Magnus was a master at winning and not placing first, but maybe 1 or 2 bits.
Sure, because he's consistent across the board.
So Jerry Pritchett is up next as Brian Clark has decided not to make a run at this. So Clark at 8:15, that'll be his best lift. And now Pritchett moves on to 8:55 as the field starts to thin a little.
I think Jerry's getting stronger. That will look better than his last one. It's like he needs some weight on the bar to actually make him get into his gears. That looked kind of easy, actually. Wow. I'd have to compare his pull to probably yours, Brian, and maybe Andy Bolton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jerry's definitely widened up his stance quite a bit, and I think it suits him really well, obviously. He's getting some great results. The one thing I will point out with this competition is that's already the 4th lift, and for some of the stronger deadlifters like Jerry, these aren't massive jumps in weight. So by the point we're over 900 pounds, you're talking 5 or 6 lifts. You know, that's a lot of deadlifts. They would, for some of the stronger guys, they would probably rather have bigger jumps and get up to the bigger weights sooner.
Jitz Kramer is up next. 8:55.
855 pounds. I'll have to say to this point, he's been the most explosive off the floor.
He really has. I haven't seen Kramer deadlift in a max deadlift event, so this will be interesting to see what he can pull.
And there's Martins again. That was a great lift, very explosive, very smooth lift out of Kramer. Great lift. Now Martins is up, and again he virtually pushes the other athlete out of the way. He's really going after it. Needs this lift. There we go.
Reese's hits that.
Wow. He looks better than the last lift. That was a terrific pull. Very smooth. I think he's finding that spot. Brian, would you comment on that?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, this is a groove. I mean, when you get in your groove and you have a deadlift that gets a little bit out of line, it can look much worse. And then you add more weight, you hit your line right, and man, it feels great. So hopefully Martins just found that line, and the next weight will be the same way.
So again, look at that musculature in the hips. Those hip flexors is bulging out. As Heinle gets down on the bar, straps up.
Really strong edge because they know they can.
Heinle finished first in the 2018 Arnold Classic Australia event, so he is on his way to Columbus, Ohio in March, and just rips that bar off the floor, no problem. So 8:55 looks light for Heinle.
Wow.
And that'll give way to Kilish-Koski. And now we're in territory where he might start to struggle a little bit, but no problem for Heinle on this lift.
Very smooth, very efficient to the knees, and just gets that up. He's got a great groove. Pushing his feet down to the floor as opposed to trying to stand up with the bar. And I know that it's hard to see that, but if you're deadlifting, that's a feel that you get.
Absolutely. That looked really comfortable for Heinle. He's definitely got some weight left in the tank.
It's not 855. It's actually 860. We're going with the heavier bar than Olympic. But you know why? Because this bar has to be 5 pounds heavier. Because it has to be a strong.
Kilish-Koski getting ready to lift here. As he's your overall leader through the first 2 events. He won the fire truck pull and then the log press. Just looking really impressive in event number 2. And a solid performance so far for him in the deadlift. He's going to make another run of this thing.
He's got time. He's got time. He's going to reset. Just breaks it off the floor.
Kilish-Koski, who is the overall leader coming into this event, will bow out at 8:55.
Okay, folks, so you heard it. Brian Shaw is going to have him come and help him with this lift. And it's training. Here we go. He's pulling. You know, he gave everything he had, though, in that attempt.
Yeah, it's definitely not for a lack of effort, that's for sure. Kilish-Koski is going to be down on himself, but, I mean, the exciting part with him is he's young, and the one lift that I will say takes a long time to build up is a deadlift. I mean, there's guys that it could take him 10 years to build up to a world-class deadlift strength. So he has nothing to be disappointed about. I mean, if he keeps moving up year by year, he's going to get to a crazy good spot. So, you know, that's he's going to be disappointed with that just because I know him.
Yes.
But you know, his upside is big.
You need to have a short memory as a strongman and move on to the next event. He's got 2 events to go.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very true.
910 pounds on the barbell. 4 men remain on a gorgeous day in Santa Monica, California. A packed house here at the historic Santa Monica Pier as Jerry Pritchett will be up first as we have moved past the 900-pound mark.
Yeah, Jerry has actually deadlifted more than this weight in a powerlifting contest with no straps. So he's definitely got this in him. Now we're kind of getting to the big praise, the big pulls at the end of the competition.
That's it. Yeah, this is the 5th pull. We're over 900 pounds. This will be great.
That was very smooth, very smooth.
And when I look at Pritchett as someone who doesn't know as much about this as you guys, it's hard for me to tell that they've added weight on the bar. He looks the same through every single lift.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, kind of like what I said earlier with the bar speed. Jerry's the guy that'll pretty much pull the same pace even with some of the lighter weights. So it is. You're exactly right. It's tough to tell kind of what gear he's in and how much he's got left because he'll pull the same way until he fails almost.
So Kramer from Holland, terrific pull so far, very explosive. I think just with gas in the tank, I think he and Heinle have been very impressive. But again, Pritchett just knows his stuff. Lissitz is determined.
Kramer needs to basically win this event. He's got to win the entire competition to get into the Arnold Strongman Classic. And he's looking good so far in the last man standing deadlift, one of 4 athletes remaining.
910 pounds.
And that will count for Yitz Kramer, 910.
Fantastic lift. He had to hitch it a little bit. Okay, here's a look at it. I'd say technically got a really good start. Kind of yanked on the bar a little bit. I think you probably want to be a little smoother. That might have actually put him out of position. Rocked his shoulders forward just that tiny bit.
Yeah.
Okay, here's Lissitz. Got to roll. Pulling.
Martins Lisis through 910 pounds as the big weights are really going up.
Really, really solid. He's approaching his the weight that he was able to pull last year at the Arnold Classic. Okay, now watch this. He's got his feet a little closer together. Does that dynamic, pulling the bar to himself. Some guys like that because they feel it livens the bar. And I think some of the other athletes might pump their hips a little bit, Brian, to give that same sensation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a lot of glute power bringing the hips through. So once you get past your knees, you really, really want to flex there and drive your hips hard. But you know, it's unique because some guys will come off the floor really strong, some guys will lock out really strong. Everybody's strong at a different point in a deadlift, so it's trying to not have any weaknesses as a team.
Yes.
910 for Ronald Heinle. And Ronald Heinle is through 910 pounds, and he will stay alive.
Yes, and he's got Arnold right in front of him. Very nice. Arnold can see the big lifts are coming. Over 900 pounds. Okay, very smooth and efficient. Right off the floor, gets it over his knees, even slings it down, making a statement. 950 pounds is next. Okay, you know, in 2011, Brian, at the 2011 at the TWA World's Strongest Man Finals, I believe Zadrunas Savickas actually set the world's record with like 965 or something.
Yeah, it was 970, I believe.
970.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in the rain.
No,
it was in the rain.
It wasn't in this beautiful weather. Yeah, that's for sure.
It was in the rain, not this beautiful weather in Santa Monica. But honestly, this just shows where we are.
Yeah, this is I mean, you're talking.
In less than 10 years, we've evolved to where this is just a standard weight.
This is, I mean, it's world class. These guys, four guys lifting 910 on to 950. I mean, this is these people are getting a show for sure.
Absolutely. This is the next step towards 1,000 pounds at 950 pounds. Deadlift specialist Jerry Pritchett. Let's just watch and see what kind of style he has on this one. If it looks like the other one's the same speed, and if I were a competitor, I'd be concerned if he just pulls it the same way. That means there's gas in the tank.
You would absolutely think that for sure.
950 for Jerry Pritchett.
Okay, that actually looked a little faster. He's getting a little serious. Very confident. Look, built that pressure in his feet, gets it up to his knees, and just stands up with it. That man knows how to deadlift.
Yeah, that was a very, very solid lift from Jerry. That was awesome.
Very good lift. So this is kind of a scouting trip for you a little bit too, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, we're six weeks out from the Arnold in Ohio, and, I'm going to be competing against a number of these guys there. So you could say that. I mean, I'm kind of always scouting.
But you're also talking about helping one of your competitors, this, Kalis Kosia, to get that deadlift going.
Yeah, I had JF Carone, who unfortunately had to pull out of the contest. I would have possibly picked him to win this deadlift event today.
Because he pulled 1,000 pounds with you in training.
He did. Yeah, we got together last year, and that was incredible.
Yeah.
So I really personally like training with the guys. I love bringing them into my gym, and, just the energy. You have
So
two
Lissus
guys that
up.
strong it's something special.
Yes, Lissus is up with the next weight. So Kramer looks like he dropped out. He had a lot of struggle with the last weight. So Martins is up,
And that'll leave just three men, Lissus, Pritchett, and Ronald Heinle.
950 pounds. This is a big, big lift. And I'm certain this is it's a personal best for Martins as well. Martins has done a lot of great things in strongman so far, but, this will be a new mark for him at deadlift. Notice how the guys are slowing it down a little bit. They're stalking.
He's not attacking the bar. He's got to get his energy right. He's got to get in the zone. You can see him amping up. Everybody kind of has that routine to get into that amped up spot to lift these kind of weights. So Martins, you can tell this is a big weight for him because of the way he's getting amped up instead of just going up to the bar like he did before.
Right. You want to drop all the inhibition that you have and put yourself in overdrive.
That's right.
950 pounds for Lissus. Looking to stay alive and possibly win the event.
He's giving everything he's got.
And cannot get it past his knees.
So close.
Great fight from Lissus, though, at 950 pounds, and that'll give way for Ronald Heinle, as now just two men remain, as Pritchett and Heinle.
That was a great effort. Now watch. Off the floor, gets it to his knees, crosses the knees, does the lean back, but just couldn't get in position to hitch it back.
He needed to pull it a couple more inches to get that hitch. If he could have got it a little bit further, I think he probably could have finished that. The other thing is he's wearing a knee sleeve, and sometimes with that bar, with the deep, sharp knurling, it can get caught up a little bit on stuff like that.
Well, this is a raw bar, and with his foot placement, that knurling would get caught on that.
Yeah.
And that's just enough.
That could be a factor. I mean, you're talking 950 pounds. You get caught up a little bit, you can't pull it.
Okay, Heinle's looked unbelievable so far. He's had great lifts. It's 950 pounds.
And if Heinle can't make this, Jerry Pritchett's your winner.
Yeah, I think Heinle's got this in him. If he gets it off the ground, I think he can finish it.
Whoa, okay.
Well, he didn't get it off the ground. So
they didn't get off the ground. That's a little surprising.
So Heinle bows out, and Jerry Pritchett, no surprise there, as he will pick up his first event win of the competition as he lifts 950 pounds.
He picks up a lot of very, very valuable points, Brian, and getting himself closer to the goal of qualifying for the overall Arnold Classic.
Yeah, Jerry needed that for sure.
Yeah.
With the overall standings, it's important for him to perform in probably his best event.
Yes.
I'm sure he's going to feel great about that.
So he did what he needed to and what he expected. So I would say that was the result that he was looking for.
Yeah,
so we're here with Brian Shaw. You know, there are myths in the world, and then there are actual legends, breathing, living legends, and definitely Brian Shaw is one of them. So
I appreciate that.
As a strongman fan and somebody who's watched his career almost the whole time, I'd have to say that getting somewhat of a front row seat to a lot of it's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, we really want to thank you for taking the time to stop by. It's a blast talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely,
best of
guys.
luck in Columbus. Can't wait to see you throw down there, and best of luck with the training moving forward.
I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Jerry Pritchett is your event winner, 950 pounds. 2 more events remain. The Rogue Sandbag Carry is up next at Pacific Park in Santa Monica.